It was an unenviable task, filling the shoes of legendary Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. But this week's power player stepped in and exceeded all expectations. Now he's guiding the tech giant through a new era of scrutiny over how its tools can be used for good or ill. Here's our power player of the week.
It was one of the saddest moments of my life, seeing an attack on our capital, an attack on our democracy.
Apple CEO Tim Cook on the horror of watching rioters breach the U.S. Capitol last week.
I felt like I was in some sort of alternate reality, to be honest with you, that this could not be happening.
In the aftermath, big tech companies scrambled to purge violent rhetoric. Twitter banned President Trump, cutting off his favorite link to supporters.
They're dividing and divisive, and they're showing something that I've been predicting for a long time. I think big tech has made a terrible mistake and very, very bad for our country.
Big tech is not monolithic. You know, there's several companies, they do different things. For us, we're always trying to do the right thing.
Cook decided the right thing for Apple was to suspend the conservative-leaning social media platform Parler from its App Store due to some users' violent posts. Isn't big tech restricting speech?
We have an App Store that has about 2 million apps in it, and we have terms of service for these apps. We obviously don't control what's on the internet, but we've never viewed that our platform should be a simple replication of the internet. We have rules and regulations, and we just ask that people abide by those.
How did you decide to balance free speech with objectionable content?
We looked at the incitement to violence that was on there, and we don't consider that free speech and incitement to violence has an intersection.
What about the argument that by taking Parler off Apple, in addition to what other companies are doing, that you're just driving these people, these views further underground?
Well, we've only suspended them, Chris, and so if they get their moderation together, they would be back on there.
Cook came on Fox News Sunday this week to talk about Apple's $100 million racial equity and justice initiative.
So what this initiative is about opportunity and about giving communities of color opportunity, and we could not be more excited about its potential.
Is there something particular about race that puts it at the top of Apple's agenda right now?
Last year, with the murder of George Floyd, it brought an urgency to this. We are thrilled to be able to sort of do our part here, and we hope that more people will follow.
As part of its initiative, Apple is helping launch the Propel Center in Atlanta for historically black colleges and universities, offering programs in everything from artificial intelligence to agriculture technologies and entertainment.
We hope to make the Propel Center an innovation hub that serves all of the HBCUs, but becomes a source of information and a source of inspiration for the entire footprint of HBCUs.
Apple is also launching the Developer Academy in Detroit to teach computer coding.
Coding is the most important second language you can learn. It's the only global language. And so we see the power of people learning to code and then designing apps and running their own businesses.
How transformative do you think this initiative can be?
I think it can be extremely transformative. I think it can make a big difference in people's lives, and that's the reason we're so excited about it.
Cook grew up in Alabama in the 1960s and 70s. Did you see racism?
Of course. This systemic racism has been something that has been across our country for the length of time that we've been a country.
Do you remember a first time when you thought to yourself, in your daily life, this is wrong?
I remember periods of time, Chris, where whether you were in high school or college or beyond, where you look around and there are only white people around, and whether it's a college or a university or a graduate school, it doesn't feel right. And so you ask, why is this? And I think it's the absence of opportunity. It goes back to that. And so what we're trying to do with this program is give people the opportunity.
Cook made the leap to Apple in the 90s, helping it turn profits when tech experts thought its best days were behind it.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
A decade later, Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, reinventing personal communication and making Apple part of daily life. Cook took over when Jobs passed away from cancer. When you succeeded Steve Jobs back in 2011, how daunting was that?
My focus then was on mourning and leading the company through a very, very hard period of time. And so I wasn't really thinking about how daunting it was.
Under Cook's leadership, Apple reimagined the watch, the first entirely new product of his era. But he sees his role in broader terms. What are you proudest of in steering Apple over this past decade?
I'm proudest that we've kept his DNA at the core of the company, and the company has stayed focused on innovation and making really great products that empower people and enrich their lives.
What's next for Apple? What's next for Tim Cook?
I love every day here. It's a privilege of a lifetime to work with the people I get to work with. It's hard for me to envision my life without Apple. What's next for Apple? We're going to continue making the best products in the world. Not the most, but the best.
Does that include an Apple car?
Well, I can't comment on rumors and so forth.
Well, you can. You may choose not to, but you're the boss.
You're right. I choose not to. Touche.
Today, Apple is the world's most valuable company, but Cook says its continued success hinges on Apple's core values.
We would like to use our platform to help solve some of the country's biggest issues. We always have seen a company as having a bigger role than merely making money, but really also making a difference. That's what drives me and gets me up in the morning and gets me to keep coming to work. In 2020, Apple's share price surged more than 80%.